behind the pub, the Prince of Wales. And they never ever ventured anywhere on their own, the two of them. They always were firm-handed, you know. I never trusted Reggie. I thought he sat on the fence and he would go whatever way suited him. Whereas Ronnie was more, if you give his word, he would stick to his word. He was the nuttiest one of the two. And he was on this, over this, drag the horse, tranquilizer and knock a horse over, what he used to say, you know. But he needed that every day to keep himself, because he was manic depressive, you know. And he thought, if people looked at him too long, he thinks they're going to attack him or something. You know, he was one of those very insecure people.
Had Foreman an inkling of what misery his association with the Craigwiggers would bring, it's unlikely he would have accepted their hospitality. Outwardly friendly, the Craigs provided genuine assistance and support for Foreman and his family. But like villains throughout time, favours are given, but a mental note of any debt is made for future reference. Gambling was still illegal in the 1950s, and muscle, like Foreman and the Craigs, was needed by the likes of gangland godfather Jack Spot to protect the footage.
There's a number of gangs in London working the protection racket, and with the help that's been passed in Parliament with the betting laws and the gambling laws, they're very, very easy.
You mean that the law now makes it easier for the protectionists?
Of course, there's big money involved in these betting shops and these gambling clubs.
If you turn the clock back to the 50s, really, when things was mad. I was down on the racetrack with Jack Spot and them with the twins, you know, when they was fighting over the bookies joints and Brighton races and different race things. And then the illegal gambling, when the gambling wasn't allowed, you had street bookmakers, and you had to prove, to get a betting shop, you had to prove that you had convictions from street bookmaking and show that you had convictions before you get a license to open up a betting shop. How about that? You know, that's one of the people don't know.
At the end of the 1950s, several of the coffee bars where Foreman has earned his ruthless reputation introduced afternoon dancing. The most popular being the Two Eyes Coffee Bar in Soho. Considered to be the birthplace of British rock and roll and the popular music industry, the Two Eyes Bar and others soon transformed into what we now know as nightclubs. Foreman and the Craigs realised that there was money to be made.
I had to walk in club with my brother George, and Buster used to work behind the bar there, and Ronnie King on the door, and all nice people. And we went into the club business, you know, and the walk-in club in Lambeth Walk, you know, and then we went on to, we had a dozen different clubs over in the South London, all up and down in the 211 club.
Foreman was also instrumental in securing nightclubs for the Craigs.
I introduced them to Stephen Lefay, who was the guy who had the club in Knightsbridge. I was there on the meeting when they took it over, but they took the East End to Knightsbridge. It's, you know, all them ugly looking bastards with their cups down their faces and all that, and flat noses, and they should have left the club as it was and run it without it, and just sat back and got the collecting the debts that was owed. That's all they needed to do. But of course they ruined the place like they ruined every fucking thing, you know. Anyway, every club they had, the business they had, they ruined it with the clientele they had take down there and the people around them.
I see people laughing and having a good time 5 minutes before he walked through the door. The minute he walked through the door, that laughter stopped. The conversation dimmed. People were terrified that he would say, "Are you laughing at me?" And then he had that paranoid feeling that they were laughing at him, and then there'd be a bloodbath.
Foreman realised that when it came to business, the Craigs were a liability rather than an asset. He recruited men for his own firm, which went on to carry out some of Britain's most audacious armed robberies. Not all were successful. In December 1961, a relatively straightforward heist turned into a bloodbath that became known as the Battle of Bow. At approximately 10 a.m., the Wages vehicle was due to arrive here at the gasworks.
It was a big, strong armoured van that went through London, delivering to all the big power stations, taking their wages. And it was had on board about 150 grand, 145 grand, I think there was.
As a security van reached Bowes Common Road coming down here to Turner's Road, it was rammed in front by a lorry, and simultaneously another lorry, the brown covered one behind me, drove up alongside. Then a 1500 weight van was driven up here and chains were attached to the door of the security van. The doors were then dragged off.
And there was two guards from it and a police officer from the our station told that was the security on board. And two of the guards were armed with revolvers, and which we were unaware of.
So when the back doors had been ripped off, you know, apart from the shock of the vehicle, were still sort of in control of the situation, pulled out their guns and began to open fire.
Now, inside the security van at the time were two guards and a police constable with his dog Flash. In the struggle that followed, one of the bandits, they were all dressed with skid lids and gas masks, one of the bandits was shot. At the same time, the police constable was injured and he is now in hospital.
And when it comes to climbing to the back and getting the money, the most important thing, there were two men there standing over it with revolvers firing away at us, which hit two of the firm, shot two of the firm, and we had to lick our wounds and carry them away.
As far as we know, no money was taken, and the gang made their getaway, carrying with them the wounded man.
Detectives investigating the robbery discovered that one of the men had left their fingerprints on a pepper gun which had been made to temporarily disable the guard. They soon established who the fingerprints belonged to, and a warrant was issued for one of Foreman's firms.
One of the firms got arrested for conspiracy to rob, which was unfortunate. So that put it up on the firm. So that, I mean, that became quite a talking point in the underworld.
Rather than give himself up, his firm member spoke to Foreman and asked if anything could be done. He in turn turned to Ronnie Cray, who took the man to a North London doctor, and Ronnie Cray asked the doctor if he would help them. And this doctor filled out a bogus appointment in his record book, saying that on the day of the robbery and at the time of the robbery, this man had been in his surgery receiving treatment. When the man gave himself up to the police, he was charged with the robbery and went on trial at the Old Bailey. The doctor was called to give evidence, and he confirmed that the man had been in his surgery, he'd been treating him, and the appointment book was produced to prove it, and the man was acquitted. The mistakes made during the Battle of Bow changed Foreman's thinking about how he would carry out robberies in the future.
From then on, because said, how can you pull out now without guns? You know, if you're going to go and over big payrolls, you want to know you're walking into a gunfire and bullets flying around. So he made every firm take one with them after that shotgun. Because the first we had a shotgun that day, we would have got the prize, we would have got the money. You know, we let a couple go, and then that might have put their heads down and thought twice about shooting us. You know, you don't take it for show. You know, if you have to use it, you've got to use it. Not deliberately to kill anyone, but of course, once you pull the trigger, you never know what's going to happen. So, but we're prepared to use them. It seemed to change the whole thing, to understand, and it didn't deter people from going out, which was the turning point, really. But that was one of the things that sort of elevated you, without even talking about it or bragging about it. That elevated the firm up a few steps.
On December the 17th, 1964, armed robber Jimmy Evans and his associate Tommy Marks came to these flats and knocked the door of number 12. Freddie Foreman stood at George answered the door. There was a loud explosion and a shotgun blast propelled him back down the hallway. According to Jimmy Evans, he'd been having sex with his wife.
If anyone was messing around with my wife at the time, I would have probably done the same thing as what happened. George he was a bit of a authority, where women were concerned. And also the fact that we had the walk-in club, and then on a Friday night you would get 6 or 7 girls coming all on their own, and they're having a good time and a laugh and a joke and a drink, and they were sort of up for it, if you know what I mean. Unbeknownst to me, he had really struck up this strong relationship with this girl, and she was married to someone else who was out the West End, but he didn't know George. He might have known George, but he didn't know the relationship between him and me, I don't think, or he couldn't have done at the time, because if he had known,